All right, folks, so a recent incident has caused the Ministry of Education to retrofit one corporate area high school to accommodate a student in a wheelchair. But what about other schools? And we heard the story of another school turning back someone because they said they could not accommodate a person with a wheelchair. So joining us now to have this discussion is the Executive Director of the Combined Disabilities Association, Gloria Goff. Good morning, Ms. Goff. Welcome to Smile. How are you?
Good morning, Jamaica. I'm fine. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Great to have you with us. How does that make you feel that in 2023 we're still having issues with folks with disabilities because our sidewalks are not, well, I don't want to use retrofit, but not
accessible?
Yeah, not accessible to people with disabilities. And now we hear one school, I read this yesterday, that one school actually turned back a student because the student was in a wheelchair and they said they could not accommodate them. How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm not surprised that in 2023, our sidewalks and other facilities are not totally accessible to persons with disabilities, as much as we'd love them to be. The pace has been very slow. But in terms of the education system, I was surprised, especially if what I heard was what the principal said. I'm surprised. I might have expected it from somebody in a lower position, but the principals in this country must already know that the Ministry of Education has systems in place that they could go to them rather than just simply telling a parent that the child cannot be a part of that school. You know, that was really unfortunate. My organization and other organizations of and for persons with disabilities, we were disturbed by the happenings because we did not expect that. We would have expected the principal to say, well, my school is not really accessible. So the child has worked hard to be here. So let me speak with the Ministry of Education and see what can be done to accommodate that child. And if and only if that cannot be done, then maybe we'll have to try another school that is more accessible. I did not expect a child to be turned away as a first action when the child has worked hard to be here.
To be fair to the principal, when I read the story, in the story the principal said he told the student that he can't accommodate the student, try to find another school, but if it does not work at other schools, then he would take the student.
But I think that's backwards. That's the backwards.
Well, I accept. But
I think
to be fair to the principal.
Yes, but I think what was said last should have been the first.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try to see what can be done.
Yeah.
And if we can't resolve the issue because the child needs the education, then we'll. But first of all, speak with the Ministry of Education. There's a special education unit that you can go to, or find an organization of persons with disabilities or for persons with disabilities that can give some guidance. Yeah. So I'm just saying the approach might have been the wrong way around.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Combined Disabilities Association lobbies for making all sorts of public spaces more accessible to people with disabilities. What's the response been like over the years when you lobby, for example, the Ministry of Education?
Well, initially, I must say, because the lobbying has been going for years, especially since 1981, when the disabled movement actually picked up or started officially in Jamaica, although there were schools offering, support and other organizations. So initially, it was very slow because you had to change mindsets. People talk about cost. But as time progressed, you had more and more persons buying into it. But even until 2023, I do believe that we are not where we ought to be. And weren't it for the lobbying, we would not be where we are in terms of the kind of accessibility, physical accessibility that has been put in place. But I want to just pause here to say that we should not focus on just ramps. That's not full accessibility. Yeah. Ramps indicate entry. Or if you're in a space, you need to get on a platform. However, when we talk about physical accessibility, we're talking about more than ramps. We're talking about what if the child goes to the school, although I know that the Ministry of Education said they were going to include bathrooms. But we need to talk about the bathrooms. We need to talk about getting from one place to another. So it's not just about entry, sorry. it's not just about entry. It's about being able to move about, to go anywhere within a building, within an environment that you need to go. And we, in Jamaica, we have made some strides and we must acknowledge it. Yeah. However, we're nowhere where we want to be, especially outside of Kingston. Yeah. Outside of Kingston, it's just like a drop in the bucket that's happening now.
You maintain a registry of children, well, people overall, adults included, with disabilities. What are the numbers looking like?
All right, our organization has a membership base because we are NGO. So we might have like 5,000-6,000 members. The Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, which is the government arm that actually maintains that kind of registry, they have 45,000, I think, that have applied and are included in their registry. However, in terms of those who have actually completed the forms and handed in all the documents to be qualified as being registered, they have about 15,000. But the truth is, in terms of the actual figures in Jamaica, a number of figures are being quoted, but we can say it's not less than 400,000.
Yep. I'm reading here that the Disabilities Act came into effect February 14, 2022, last year. This followed the Act's approval in 2014 and the affirmation of the Disabilities Regulations in 2021. And the key rights addressed in the Act: the right to education and training, the right to employment, the right to adequate health care is number 3, and number 4, the right to access public passenger vehicles. Mm-hmm. Does that go far enough for you?
Well, the Act is, we would consider, just like anything else, the Act is a work in progress, meaning that this is our first Disabilities Act. Now, it has to be reviewed within 3 years after the enforcement date. Mm-hmm. This is the last year, 14th of February. Mm-hmm. We have picked up a few things that are missing or that should, have more space in the Act, and some maybe develop regulations along those lines. So in, 2022, 3, 4, 5, in 2025, I guess those amendments will be recommended.
What are some of the things you're noticing, though, that you would make recommendations to improve?
For example, I think we need more to be said about how you focus on children in the Act, although it covers everybody. Yeah, we need to look more at even the transportation section. I think needs some expansion because it's very brief. And I know codes of practice will pick up on some of the missing areas because there are going to be codes of practice. There are some already that have been drafted that will go into more explanation and give some guidance as to how we would deal with these areas. But I think it needs to focus more on that. And it needs to focus on the whole issue of, it talks about employment, but there are those persons who will never be employed because of the extent of the disability, and parents who have to remain at home because nobody wants to keep the child or they cannot afford to place the child in an institution for a day, like a nursery. We don't have nurseries like those. So parents like those, we need to say how we deal with those parents. And the regulations are, the Act needs to include those parents, support for those parents.
Yeah, we pray that they will get to where they ought to be. Thank you for coming, Ms. Goff. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Executive Director of the Combined Disabilities Association, Ms. Gloria Goff.
After the break, we'll hear the story of a young man who is coming from selling sweets to earning his second master's degree. Stay with us on Smile.